Hello. Economic terrorism, extortion, sabotage of democracy. Call it what you will, that's what others are calling this. And I can't even repeat what one local congressman is saying, although I heartily applaud him for saying it. The federal shutdown is hurting people here in King County. Public life lends itself to a lot of hyperbole. This federal shutdown lends itself to hyperbole. But this is no exaggeration. They are literally taking the food out of babies' mouths. We're here in White Center because the federal shutdown now threatens the essential feeding program for mothers and babies, the Women, Infant, and Children's Program, also known as WIC. This has to stop. The Republicans in Congress have got to do the job they were elected to do, and that is to make government work. As a result of the federal shutdown, funding for WIC will run out on Thursday, October 31st. Beginning in November, families who count on WIC may lose this lifeline. I'm sorry to report that the county employees who provide WIC nutrition services are receiving their 45-day layoff notices today. The layoff notices are being sent to 82 employees. This has the potential to affect up to 38,000 people in King County, with a financial impact of up to $30 million. That includes $23 million in funding that goes directly to cover the costs of food for our residents. Symbolic piecemeal bills are not the answer. We need to get the whole federal government open and back to work. For House Republicans, this shutdown is about Obamacare. It is their last desperate attempt to snatch back affordable health care from those who, until now, have had nothing. The very thing being targeted by this shutdown, Obamacare, is the thing that's moving ahead here in Washington and in King County. Nearly 10,000 people have enrolled for affordable health care statewide, and another 10,000 are awaiting approval as soon as their first payment arrives. People need affordable health care. People need a government that works. It's time for Congress to stop holding America's future hostage and to get back to the jobs to which they were elected. Now I'd like to introduce to you the King County Council member who represents this council district, Joe McDermott, who is also the chair of the council's Budget Committee. Joe.
Thank you, Dow. The Women, Infant, and Children's Feeding Program serves, as Dow said, 38,000 people across King County, 2,200 here at this location in White Center alone. Every one of those people deserves to maintain their services they're receiving from the program, their needed services, providing food, education, and nutrition. That's really the responsibility of Congress. That's the responsibility of a legislative body to adopt a budget. I serve as a member of a legislative body, the King County Council. I differ on politics and policy with every one of my colleagues at points in time throughout the year, at points in time throughout the budget process. We have the executive's proposed budget now. That's what we are working on at the County Council. I guarantee you, despite those differences, that we will come to an agreement, we will work through in a responsible manner, and we will adopt a budget for the county before the end of November, well more than a month before our fiscal year starts. That's what we expect of Congress as well. Our state can struggle with their timeline and their politics and policy as well. We had a state budget prior to the beginning of the state fiscal year. We expect our federal government to be providing these needed services, literally, to mothers and children. So we really encourage Congress to step up to the plate, get their shit in one sock, and accomplish the work at hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDermott. I'd like to now introduce Crystal Ruger, who is a WIC client. Her husband is a federal employee who is furloughed. She has brought her 3 young children with her here today to talk about how the federal government shutdown and the ripple effect on her as a WIC client will impact her should this last into November. Crystal.
Thank you. I've been going to WIC since my 5-year-old was inside me still. And I've been helped so much to the point where I had a nurse give me her home number for when I got stressed. I could call her and she would encourage me to keep breastfeeding or with whatever stresses I was having at the time. I now have my 3rd child, my son Ryan. I have a daughter named Zoe also. She's 17 months old. Zoe's lactose intolerant. She can't have regular dairy. So without the WIC checks, we don't have anything for her to drink. And without the WIC checks, I don't have anything for my 5-year-old to eat because she pretty much only likes vegetables. And my son Ryan, he's supplemental. I breastfeed him and he has formula. Without that, I don't have formula for him. And without my husband being able to work, we don't have money coming in at all. So to hear this, to know that they're playing with people's lives, it's devastating and really stressful. And I don't know what we're gonna do at the end of this, but they need to stop. And other people shouldn't be laid off just because they don't want to get their stuff together and do what they need to be doing.
Thank you, Crystal. We would be glad to take any questions that you might have at this time. Obviously, there are folks here who can speak with you one-on-one. We also have a representative from the office of Congressman Jim McDermott here with us today. Are there any questions?
What other programs besides WIC, including stuff like SNAP, is going to be affected that are federally funded but on the local level administered? What's everything else is coming basically?
With regard to county programs, we're now still in the process of compiling all those that are going to be impacted by this federal government shutdown. Anything that's funded by federal direct appropriations or by federal grants, even if it's 2 or 3 steps back in the process, ultimately is going to be impacted. We do have experts here today who can tell us a little bit more about the specific human services programs that might be impacted. Please introduce yourself.
So 2 of the programs are the WIC program, as he's discussed, and the other one is a SNAP program. So that is another 5 or 6 employees that are laid off as of today,
SNAP
too.
does.
SNAP is a Supplemental Nutrition Action Program. So, I'm Lynn Kidder. I'm the WIC Program Director for King County.
Are there other questions?
It seems like some programs that are federally funded are getting some money despite the so-called government shutdown. Is that a possibility with the WIC in the next couple of weeks?
As far as we know, we have funding through the end of the month. It's looking really doubtful for funding beyond that. We are not sure if there'll be food dollars into November so that clients can cash the WIC vouchers. At this point, we only know that we have funding through the end of the month.
Is that because they haven't told you anything or what?
It's partly they haven't told me that, but also partly because there isn't the funding available as far as we know.
Why does the county step in and take over where the feds are not?
Well, I have to tell you that that question about why doesn't the county step in actually opens up a conversation about a larger trend of us stepping in to pick up where the government, the federal government, and to a large extent the state government have been falling down. We've been propping up human services programs, propping up mental health treatment, propping up a whole range of important services to protect the quality of life here in our county, but we do not have the budget authority, we do not have the revenue authority to be able to do that, and not anything like the scale that is represented in the cuts that will come with the federal shutdown. The fact is that we have worked over the years as a nation to create a safety net so that kids like this can get off to a good start in life, to have a chance to achieve their full potential, to do better than their parents did. This is an attempt by a minority, really, in Congress who've somehow commandeered the grand old party, just in one house, to hold the world economy, the nation's future, and people like Crystal hostage in order to serve their ideological agenda. And I think it's wrong, and it's got to stop. I thank you for being here today.